Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 8, texts 26, 27 and 28. So 26 and 27 I will read the verse and the translation. The 28 we will read together. कालेनाल्पेन राजर्षे रामकृष्णश्च गोकुले अघृष्टजानुभीपद्भिर्विचक्रमतुरञ्जसा. O King Parikshit, within a very short time both Rama and Krishna began to walk very easily in Gokula on their legs, by their own strength, without the need to crawl. Purport. Instead of crawling with their knees, the babies could now stand up by holding on to something and walk little by little without difficulty by the strength of their legs. Tatastu Bhagavan Krishno Vayasyair Vrajabalakaihi Saharamo Vrajastrinang Shikridhe Janayan Mudham. Thereafter Lord Krishna along with Balarama began to play with the other children of the cowherd men, thus awakening the transcendental bliss of the cowherd women. Purport. The word Saharamaha, meaning along with Balarama, is significant in this verse. In such transcendental pastimes, Krishna is the chief hero and Balarama provides additional help. So please repeat after me. Krishnasya Gopyah Ruchiram Vikshya Kaumarachapalam Shrinvantyaha Kila Tatmatuhu Iti Ha Uchuhu Samagataha. Krishnasya Gopyo Ruchirang Vikshya Kaumarachapalam Shrinvantya Kilatan Matur Iti Hochu Samagataha. Krishnasya Gopyo Ruchirang Vikshya Kaumarachapalam Shrinvantya Kilatan Matur Iti Hochu Samagataha. Krishnasya Gopyo Ruchirang Vikshya Kaumarachapalam Shrinvantya Kilatan Matur Iti Hochu Samagataha. Matajis. Krishnasya Gopyo Ruchirang Vikshya Kaumarachapalam शृण्वन्त्या किल तन्मातुर् इति होचु समागताः। कृष्णस्य of Krishna, Gopyah, all the gopis, Ruchiram, very attractive, Vikshya, observing, Kaumara Chapalam, the restlessness of the childish pastimes, Shrinvantyaha, just to hear them again and again. Kila, indeed, Tat Matuhu, in the presence of his mother. Iti, thus, Ha, indeed, Uchuhu, said, Samagataha, assembled there. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON. Translation: observing the very attractive, childish restlessness of Krishna, all the gopis in the neighborhood, to hear about Krishna's activities again and again, would approach Mother Yashoda and speak to her as follows. Purport: Krishna's activities are always very attractive to devotees. Therefore, the neighbors who were friends of Mother Yashoda informed Mother Yashoda of whatever they saw Krishna doing in the neighborhood. Mother Yashoda, just to hear about the activities of her son, stopped her household duties and enjoyed the information given by the neighborhood friends. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminiti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishnasya gopyo ruchirang vikshya kaumara chapalam shrinvantya kilatan matur iti hochu samagataha. Observing the very attractive, childish restlessness of Krishna, all the gopis in the neighborhood, to hear about Krishna's activities again and again, would approach Mother Yashoda and speak to her as follows. So, in the last two, three verses, we are hearing about how the Supreme Lord Krishna, to give pleasure to all the inhabitants of the Vraja, he is performing amazing pastimes, specifically the Balya Leela. His childhood pastimes are very fascinating, and we saw how Krishna would play with the calves. Krishna and Balaram both would play with the calves. He will tie 2-3 calves together, the tails he will tie together and crawl and run behind, and all the Vraja gopis and Mother Yashoda were completely captivated by his activities. So that was actually giving them great bliss. So in verse, and also we just saw yesterday that how also so Krishna, as he is gradually growing, his mischievousness also is growing, and he is trying to play with. It's natural for any mother or father to be a little scared when the child goes and plays with horned animals, specifically as mentioned in the previous verse. Krishna would like to even go near the bull. He would like to go and try to touch the thorns and swords and other weapons he would like to touch. And of course it was creating anxiety, but yesterday we heard how it creates spiritual anxiety and it increases the bliss of Mother Yashoda and Nanda and other gopis. And further, um, as Krishna and Balaram, they were growing. It is mentioned in today's verse. So this is again another interesting moment for the parents. When the child is crawling, that itself is very amazing and fascinating to see. The child crawls and moves around here and there, and the parents are in bliss. And now, I do not know whether we are in the cities we may not see, but in the villages and other places, there used to be a tricycle. They used to give a tricycle for the child. For gradually, it will try to walk. This you have to hold, and then the tricycle gradually moves, and then the children start to walk. So that is amazing feature. And now gradually after that, Krishna and Balaram, it is mentioned here that they started walking. Here it is mentioned, Kalen Alpen Raja Rishe Ramah Krishnascha Gokule. So both of them started walking. So they gained little more strength, and as a result they started walking and they started performing more pastimes for the pleasure of the Lord. Now in this Sri Sanatana Goswami, he is pointing out that here the word Raja Rishe, specifically Shukadeva Goswami is pointing out that you can also realize this, that actually Krishna is performing all these activities to increase the sweetness. So he's pointing out that that's why here he is calling him Raja Rishi, because Shukadeva Goswami was able to appreciate that, and Parikshit was also equally qualified to appreciate that. So that is the point. And then in the next verse it is mentioned, Tatastu Bhagavan Krishno Vayasyair Vrajabhalakaihi Saharamo Vrajastrinam. So Saharamo, Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he points out that along with Balarama, Saharama is significant in this verse. The point is that here Tatastu Bhagavan Krishno. So it is mentioned here that Krishna is the chief hero in this pastime. So far, the pastimes, whatever that is being mentioned by Shukadeva Goswami, he speaks about Krishna and Balarama doing various activities to increase the bliss of the Gopas and the Gopis. But now, specifically, he is going to narrate some incidents where Krishna's predominance will be seen. So that is what is being. So Saharama here the point that is being mentioned is that Balarama is assisting Krishna in his pastimes, and as Krishna is giving pleasure to his devotees, Balarama is assisting in that. So that is why this this word is being used, that Saharama. That's what the acharyas are mentioning, and how what kind of activities they are performing to increase the bliss. It is mentioned here, Chikride Janayan Mudam. So the transcendental bliss of the cowherd men increased because Chikride, they played very happily. All were very sportive activities. So that was increasing the bliss of the gopis. Now in verse 28, Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he makes a very important point. He says that Krishna's activities are always very attractive to devotees. Yeah, Krishna's activities are so charming, and specifically his childhood activities are even more captivating. All of them are in great bliss, and the Gopas and the Gopis are very happy to participate in that. That's one thing, and also they are very happy to hear about that. They are not tired of hearing about this. They repeat even after this hearing it again and again. They are not satiated. They want to hear it again and again. Vayam tuna vitrupyama uttama shloka vartaye yat shinvatam rasajnanam swadu pade pade. The great transcendentalists like to hear the beautiful pastimes of Krishna because it is full of mellows and it is very pleasing to the ear. So here we see here that the specific word is also mentioned here. Shrinvantya kilatan matur. Now just to hear them again and again. Srila Prabhupada in the word to word, he translates it as just to hear them again and again. So we see here the gopis are actually trying to come and then complain to Mother Yashoda of the various activities that is being the various mischievous activities that is being performed by Krishna and Balaram and the other Gopas. But Actually, yeah, the acharyas are mentioning the point that although they want to come and complain to Mother Yashoda, but actually they want to increase the bliss of Mother Yashoda. So that is one of the reason, and also they also were very happy to inform about it. And Mother Yashoda, as this verse mentions, that she left all her other activities. She was a responsible mother. She had so many activities to perform, but she left all the other activities, and she was with great attention. Shinvantya kilatan matur iti hochu samagataha. So all those gopis who assembled there, they wanted to point out all the various activities about Krishna. And as Srila Prabhupada mentions here, that she gave up all her household duties, and then with great attention she was hearing about Krishna's activities. So again, this point of attentive hearing, you can think of Shinvantya, Shinvanta. So we can see this word being mentioned in the Bhagavatam and in the Gita and so many other scriptures, that we need to hear with great attention. Krishna says in the beginning of the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna mentions that, with full consciousness of me. Srila Prabhupada, in his word-to-word translation of Maya Sakta Manaf Partha, Yogam Yunjan Madashrayah Asamshayam Samagrang Mam Yata Jnasasi Tachrunu. Prabhupada says, while in the word-to-word translation, he mentions the point that how we have to hear full consciousness of me. Prabhupada translates this very interesting translation. So with full absorption, one has to hear. And with attachment, Maya Sakta Manaha, with mind absorbed, and we have to be connected with Krishna, Yogam, and then taking shelter of him. In this way, we take shelter of him. So that is a great opportunity we have by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. It helps us to absorb ourselves in thoughts of Krishna, Krishna's various activities, his devotees' various activities, the great devotion the devotees have for the Lord, and the reciprocation the Lord has for his devotees, and how the Lord responds to his devotees. So it is very captivating. And and we see here that so the acharyas are mentioning the point that, so they are only, the gopis and the gopas only aim is to always give bliss to Krishna. They are always engaged, so they are very much absorbed in that. And there is one very interesting verse in the Bhagavatam which speaks about how hearing about Krishna creates such auspiciousness. And also, we are in the material world. We are actually surrounded by so many people who are immersed in ignorance, and they are not interested to hear about the Lord or the pastimes or anything to do with spiritual. Or rather, we see some of them are against spiritual practice, or they have so many different philosophies, so many different kinds of understandings. But the activities that we are engaged in as the practitioners of the Krishna consciousness movement, we are engaged in ourselves, absorbed in hearing about Krishna, in glorifying Krishna, and also distributing the knowledge to others. Now, when Uddhava went to meet Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda to tell about the message of Krishna, so there is a very nice verse that mentions about how the gopis and gopas, they were so much absorbed in Krishna conscious thoughts, how they were again and again hearing and speaking about Krishna's various activities. So this is the verse. The verse says, Udghaitanam Aravinda Lochanam Vrajangananam Divamasprishaddhvanihi Dadnascha Nirmantana Shabdamishrito Nirasyate Yena Disham Amangalam. So, Udghaitanam Aravinda Lochanam. So, what the gopis were doing, the gopis were actually churning for the butter, and what they were doing, Udghaitanam Aravinda Lochanam. Udghaitanam, they were singing the glories of Krishna. Aravinda Lochanam, his eyes are like the beautiful lotus. So, they were glorifying him. So, who are those? Vrajangananam Divam. So, the women of the Vraja. And so this is very interesting. And the voice, how much was their voice? Was it just within this room? They were churning the butter, Well, it was heard just within the room? No. Within the small house or within the small, say, let's say 4 meters or 5 meters? No. It is said, Divam Asprashad Dvanihi. Their voice were heard up to the sky. So much loud, they were in great ecstasy. They were loudly chanting Krishna's various activities. It's very interesting actually. And then it is said Dadnascha Nirmantana Shabda Mishtrito. So yes, it was also in very much in tune, and they were churning, and then the churning rod was also they were chanting Krishna's names and his various activities. So it was all well in tune. The beat and the melody, everything was in sync. Nirasyate yena disham amangalam. So what is the result of that chanting? It dissipated all the inauspiciousness in every direction. So this is the point. So the chanting of Krishna's name, Krishna's various activities, this is the topmost activity. This is the best welfare activity that we can do to help people to come out of the ignorance. So it dissipates all inauspiciousness. So yesterday we were trying to meet one doctor. So he said that he was not at all interested to take a book. So he was explaining about this Krishna book, that how Krishna's various activities, how his activities in the childhood pastimes, his activities in Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwaraka, it's all auspiciousness. So he said that actually the most important thing is we have to really help the people. People are suffering. People are in difficulty. So my duty is to help the poor to make them rich. The people are very poor. I have to make them rich. That's my duty. And I want to help people that way. So we were just explaining him that how the Krishna consciousness movement, by giving this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, by spreading the message of the various activities of Krishna and his glories, actually it is bringing auspiciousness to the people. It is actually really bringing auspiciousness to the people, because people are immersed in ignorance. They have no idea. So a person may be poor, a person may be sick, a person may be diseased, but you may try to give some temporary help which may put him in some kind of a comfort zone. That is also for a very short time, because the very nature of this material world is dukhalem and asashvatam. It is meant to give suffering, and it is very short lived. So it's a great responsibility on our side to distribute this knowledge to others, and there is so much nectar. So once we understand the Sambandha Jnana, who is Krishna, what is our relationship with him, and how to understand that he is not an ordinary person, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that Supreme Personality of Godhead, as we heard yesterday, he himself wants to be a simple village boy who likes to relish amazing pastimes with his devotees. Yeah, these topics are above our head, but Krishna specifically in his two-handed form performs so many amazing activities. His sweetness, as in the last 2-3 verses it is being mentioned, his sweetness is very much attractive. It is very captivating, and it brings the attention of all the great devotees. So chanting his names, chanting about his glories, distributing his knowledge, it is the only auspiciousness in this material world. So that by distributing these books and speaking about him and preaching widely, far and wide, actually it brings auspiciousness to the people. Now, as the verses mentioned, that some of his activities, in the next verse we will hear how Krishna is performing so many other pastimes. Just one or two of his beautiful pastimes we will just hear. Some of them are mentioned in various scriptures. There was one pastime in the Ananda Vrindavana Champu, it is mentioned. Just one leela I would like to relate. Is when the gopis and the gopas, they often come and then complain to Mother Yashoda. So Yashoda would hear all this chastisement of the gopis, and then later she preaches to Krishna that there is wonderful butter that is available in her house, and it is very freshly churned, and everything is very nice. Why are you going to someone else's house? So so she would try to preach to Krishna, and then she would try to explain to him, and then Krishna would very peacefully hear that, and then he will still not be very much convinced with whatever she says. And once she very patiently explained to Krishna about his mischievous activities, and the Nanda Maharaj came in, and then she started to explain to Nanda Maharaj what are the mischievous activities that Krishna was doing. Then here it is explained. So the Nanda Maharaj was asking about the various activities that Krishna was performing. So Krishna was explaining to Nanda Maharaj. He was saying that, Mother, you please now truthfully explain what are the activities that I have done to Nanda Maharaj. So then, after when Krishna explained that, Mother Yashoda was pointing out the various mischievous activities that Krishna had performed, and Nanda Maharaj, out of great affection, he said, my son is faultless. He has not done anything wrong. I always see him behaving very nicely. By siding with those who made fun of him and with those who showed envy toward my jewel-like son, you have wrongly accused my well-behaved son, and so you should be punished. So concealing his real mood behind these words, Nanda rebuked Yashoda and comforted his son. Oh, my darling son, just stay in my lap and do not go to anyone else. So Krishna, like very innocently, he just went on the lap of Nanda Maharaj, and then he was very innocently sitting there. And then within short time, Krishna, after seeing Mother Yashoda, he immediately, Krishna was very unpredictable. It is something the Acharya is saying that he is very unpredictable. So what he did, so as he was sitting on the lap of Nanda Maharaj, within a short time, he just quickly climbed on Mother Yashoda's lap. And then seeing the innocence of Krishna, then all the Gopas and Gopis, they went into great laughter. So this was one incident. And there was another very interesting incident which devotees have heard many times, that when the other gopis came and then complained about how Krishna was stealing the butter from someone else's house and others' house, and he was disturbing the children. So the Gopi Prabhavati, she came and then she wanted to complain to Mother Yashoda about Krishna's activities. She said that one day I will catch him red-handed and I will bring him in front of you. So when that day morning, when Krishna and the other Gopas as usual came to steal the butter, so she caught Krishna. She caught Krishna, and then at the top of the sari, she covered Krishna, and then she brought Krishna to Yashoda's house. And then Yashoda, this time she said that, okay, you spoke so much about my son, okay, show him to me. So then when she was about to show Krishna immediately changed his form. He showed the form of Prabhavati's son. So then she showed to everyone, you see what this naughty fellow is doing. This is what I just told everything about you. So then everybody was watching. Nanda Maharaj was there, and then all other Rohini, Mother Yashoda, and everybody was watching, and they were laughing at Prabhavati. And then she was looking what's going on, and when they saw it was her own son. So they were all completely stunned. What is happening? and then she felt bad, and then she went all the way, and then Krishna went back. She went behind her, and then he chastised. So these were some of the couple of verses. Krishna said, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Punarmam Yadigrignasi Kadachitvam hi Gopike Te Bhartrit Rupastu Tada Bhavishyami na Sankshayah. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Gopi, if you capture me again, I will take the form of your husband. So there is no doubt about it. So she said, better you don't do these activities, you go away. I will do this next time. So Narada said, Sri Narada Uvacha, Shrutva sa vismita gopi, Gata geheta maitila, Tada sarva grihe gopyo, na grignanti harim hriya. O king of Mithila, when she heard this, the astonished gopi went home. From then on, in every home, impelled by fear of embarrassment, the gopis would not capture Krishna. So that's why they will not do. They will never know what Krishna is going to respond, how he is going to do some of the activities. So this was one of the last times. So there was another incident that Krishna was very upset one day morning. He was he was continuously crying, and then all the gopis and others were asking, what do you want? So do you want, we have the fresh butter, churned butter. Krishna was pointing out at the moon, and he said that, no, I want that butter. I want that. So then they had to explain to Krishna that some of them were explaining that it's not butter, it is Raja Hamsa. So we cannot get it for you. So then afterward, Mother Yashoda had to explain that then she has to explain that it is moon, but there is some poison in it, she said. So then, because she said that there is poison, because there is small spots are there, no, so it is not good for you, you cannot take it. Then she explained the whole. Krishna is asking why there is poison. Then she said that actually it came from the churning of the ocean. So she has to explain the whole philosophy, that how the churning happened, how the moon came from that. And then Krishna was again asking philosophically, so what happened to the poison? Then she said that Shiva drank the poison. So all these different explanations she has to give. And then like that she explains, and I have the fresh butter I will give you. So like that Krishna became tired, and then he went to sleep. And then the next day morning, when he woke up, then Krishna was chastising Mother Yashoda, saying that I was very hungry, so hungry, but you never gave me, you told me some stories and you never gave me butter. Then Krishna was asking, then Mother Yashoda was asking Krishna, but how can I understand? All the butter that I kept yesterday night was missing. So how do you explain that? So like that Acharya says, like this amazing pastime Krishna will perform. Krishna will perform in the to please the gopis. So as this verse explains, so like this, while Mother Yashoda was hearing when the other gopis and gopas were complaining about Krishna's various activities, Mother Yashoda was hearing this with rapt attention, and she was in great bliss. So this was one of the activity. And while we speak about this, we have to also understand, as we were hearing the last 2-3 days also, so these activities of Krishna are very bewildering. So that's why Krishna's activities, we cannot understand that, we cannot think that, is actually some ordinary boy. So we need to have proper knowledge. And also when Krishna is, sometimes people say Krishna is stealing butter, he's a thief. But he's not an ordinary person. He is the Supreme Lord himself. He comes and performs various activities. By his various activities, he attracts the minds of the fallen souls. So he gives us a chance to be attracted by him, and then we also can be absorbed by his activities, and then from the mode of ignorance we can actually rise ourselves to sattva, and from sattva we can rise ourselves to Shuddha Sattva, and like that. So in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is pointing out how his activities are not ordinary activities, how we should not misunderstand him as an ordinary person. So in the 5th chapter, 15th verse, Krishna is pointing out in the Bhagavad Gita, Nadhate kasyachit papam nachaiva sukrutang vibhu ajnanartam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. So if we do not have proper knowledge about Krishna and his potencies and his various activities, we may think him to be another ordinary person, or we may think these activities to be some, as some people say, these are all some story tale or some mythology. But if you hear from the right source, from the pure devotees, then we will come out of the ignorance. So that is the whole point. And then Krishna goes on to explain in the Bhagavad Gita, Jnanena tutad jnanam esham nashitam atmanah tesham aditya vajnanam prakashayati tatparam. So this knowledge about the Supreme Lord and his various activities, actually what it does, it completely destroys all our ignorance. We will be freed from the ignorance, and it will, when the sun comes, all the darkness is gone. The sun lights up, and the daytime lights up. You can see things in proper perspective. Similarly, by hearing about the Lord and chanting his names, it completely removes all the darkness, all the ignorance of the material world. So it is very important for us, with our intelligence and mind, be absorbed in hearing about Krishna. Tad buddhayas tad atmanas tannishtas tat parayanaha gacchantya punaravrittim jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. So what happens when we hear with our mind and intelligence absorbed? So when one's mind and intelligence is absorbed, with mind, faith and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So this is the point. So we will be making tremendous progress by hearing about Krishna's amazing activities. So that's the whole point, is that we need to hear about Krishna's name, Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. So we have to absorb ourselves in chanting. We have to absorb ourselves in hearing about all these activities. So it all begins with giving proper oral reception. So by oral, so regularly coming in association with devotees, hearing about Krishna's activities, it helps us to come out of the conditioning in this material world. Otherwise, we are actually very much steeped in ignorance, and we suffer in the material world. We have adhyatmika klesha, adhibhautika klesha, adhidhaivika klesha, and then we are also suffering from birth, death, old age, and disease. So again and again, we are in various bodies. We have been we are just experiencing these miseries. So, but a great opportunity is given to us. Krishna, being very merciful, so through his devotees, has given this transcendental knowledge, and this knowledge is the only hope for us. By giving oral reception to this knowledge, it brings us to reality. It clearly shows what is Sat, what is Asat, reality distinguished from illusion. So that's what the Bhagavatam helps us to do. So by hearing from Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, it clearly puts us in the right position. Who is God? Who we are? What is our relationship with Him? And how by engaging in this transcendental loving service, we can all be happy. So here we see that the amazing activities that are performed by Krishna and his cowherd friends, it really attracts the minds of the devotees. So, and specifically, as Srila Prabhupada points out here, so Krishna's activities are very attractive. So if we, with proper understanding, if we hear about Krishna's, who is Krishna, what is his position, and what is the position of his devotees, and how we can be absorbed in him, we will be able to make progress. So that is the purpose of the human form of life. The purpose of the human form of life is to understand our relationship with the Lord and understand our relationship with his devotees, and then be absorbed. So as Krishna says, so our life is meant for that. Mad chitta madghata prana bodhayantah parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So when we come in the association of devotees, we hear about Krishna's various activities, his various instructions that he has given for us to follow, and in that way it will help us to be absorbed in him. And as the scriptures say, we are meant to be happy. Anandamayo abhyasa. We are all Krishna is always eternally happy, and we are also eternally happy, being his part and parcels. But because we are conditioned in this material world, we are in ignorance. We have forgotten our original relationship with the Lord. We are actually suffering in various bodies. But the perfect process of Krishna consciousness gives us a chance to again build our relationship with the Lord. It helps us to connect ourselves with the Lord, and by giving oral reception to Gita and Bhagavatam and engaging ourselves in this process of Krishna consciousness, we can revive our original consciousness and then be reinstated in our constitutional position as eternal servant of Krishna. So that's what we see here. And as we heard in that verse, that the gopis, while engaging in various activities, they were constantly reminding themselves about Krishna, his various activities. And what is the result of that? It removes all the inauspiciousness. So what is inauspicious for us? Any activity which is not in relation with Krishna is inauspicious for us in this material world. But the auspiciousness begins when we start to relate ourselves with Krishna. Any touch with Krishna is very auspicious. So while chanting his names, by hearing about him, by hearing about his glories, engaging in various activities, helping to build the temple of Krishna, making garland for Krishna, cooking for Krishna, singing for Krishna, helping in publishing these literatures, distributing these literatures. Even someone smiles at a devotee, anything in relation with Krishna and his devotees brings auspiciousness for the conditioned soul, and also for us, it gives us great absorption. So it helps us to purify our existence. So in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we see, so there is the sweetness of the Lord is mentioned, and the more we become qualified, the more we hear about these pastimes, and more we can relish this. So for us, as Srila Prabhupada has given us this process of regularly hearing, regularly engaging in service, and in this way we can absorb ourselves. So in this way, gradually as we engage in these activities, we become purified. The more and more we become purified, the more and more we develop taste to hear about Krishna. So Vasudeva Kataruchihi. So and also by Sayan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nisevanat. So how do we get this mercy? We come in touch with the devotees. The devotees help us. They engage us in Krishna's service. They help us to hear about Krishna. They glorify the Lord. They glorify the Lord's various activities. In that way, we as we give oral reception to Krishna and his activities, we develop taste for it, and then as our taste increases, we get absorbed, and then we can see naturally we develop renunciation. What happens? The more we develop interest in chanting the names and engaging in his service, the natural consequence is that we develop detachment to this material world. So this is the process. Our process is a very positive process. The more we engage, we hear about Krishna's and various activities. We hear about the material world, how the material world is temporary, how we don't belong to this place, how the various attractions of this material world are binding us. And then to come out of this binding, we actually engage in the service of the Lord. We chant his names, and naturally, the higher taste helps us to give up the lower taste. So that is the whole practical process of Krishna consciousness that we are engaged in. And we see in our own lives that everybody has this experience. At least on the gross level, we are able to give up so many different kinds of lower desires that we have. And then as we also see, as the more we hear, the more we chant Krishna's names, the more we engage in preaching, the more we are able to give up the lower taste. So that is a pratyaksha bhagavam that we can see with our own eyes. So keeping that in mind, we should engage more in Krishna's service. We should engage more in chanting. We should also engage in preaching. So if we do that, and we can see, we will be able to come out of the conditioning. Whatever difficulties we may have, whatever conditioning we may have, but we can see this process works. This process is a very powerful process, and it works. And then naturally, we develop all good qualities because by coming in touch with Krishna. So that is the point is mentioned here. So we don't have to try any other process, because this process is a very simple yet a very powerful and sublime process. So we see here, as it is mentioned here, Shrinvantya. So everything begins with hearing. So that is why we often repeat, and we again and again tell devotees, we ourselves also personally, we need to hear, we need to read, and whatever we read and we hear, we share it with others. And this is the way by which we overcome the conditioning of the material world. And that is the reason we are going out and distributing books, because by giving these books, it helps people to see things in right perspective. What is Sat, what is Asat, what is reality, what is illusion, and how to get real happiness. All this knowledge is revealed to people by reading Srila Prabhupada's books, which are actually essence of all the scriptures. All the 4 Vedas, Itihasas, Puranas, everything is condensed in Srila Prabhupada's books, and he gives exactly what we need to hear, and that helps us to purify our existence. So I'll stop here. If you have any questions or comments or any realizations, any other points to add. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
I don't have any questions because it was such a well-rounded class that you covered everything. But I do have one comment. There's one other verse in Bhagavad Gita, Jama Kama Chmedevyam, Evam Yoti Tapata, Taptadeham Punajavam, Natamabni Stojuna. But if one understands the transcendental nature of Krishna's birth and his activities, then one does not have to take his birth again in this material world, and in fact attains Krishna's transcendental abode. I think it's important we understand that we have to hear from the authorized source.
Yes.
And not hear from unauthorized persons or non-devotees, because that will, it's like milk touched by the lips of a serpent, and it will have poisonous effects. It won't have the desired effects. So, just wanted to make that comment.
Yes, yeah, that's a very important point. Yeah, it's very important from which source we hear. Vaishnava Mukha Udgirnam Putam Harikatamritam. So we actually, when we go out and distribute books also, we tell this point very much. We stress how Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita and his books are as it is. It comes in parampara. The real mood and the real knowledge is maintained. As the acharyas, they don't give false interpretation. Exactly give the right mood. What we need to understand Krishna's exact position. What is the position of the jiva, and what is the proper understanding of the material world. And yeah, when people give oral reception to that, they are saved. Thank you very much for this.
Before Srila Prabhupada came to the West, there wasn't a single devotee of Krishna in the Western world.
Yes.
But when Prabhupada came and introduced Krishna consciousness as it is, in the proper parampara system, coming directly from Krishna, then so many devotees of Krishna are now in the Western world, and they're manifesting symptoms of attachment and symptoms of attachment for Krishna and detachment from the material world. So that's proof that if you hear from the right source, you'll get the actual benefit. So yeah, hence the importance of distributing Prabhupada's books, hence the importance of reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and hence the importance of following Srila Prabhupada's instructions. And you will get the desired result. You know, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. If we follow, we will get the result, and if we give it to others, they'll get the result.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of His Grace Mukunda Datta Prabhu. He just said that he read so many editions of the Bhagavad Gita before he came in touch with Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita edition. And when he read Prabhupada's edition of the Bhagavad Gita, he said everything clicked, everything made sense. He was really thrilled and amazed, and then he really was in great bliss, because in so many other Gitas he said that he couldn't relate, he couldn't understand what they actually Gita is trying to say.
You don't get any benefit from it. It's like licking a jar of honey. Till you open the jar, you're not going to get any taste. I know myself, I used to go around to bookstores and try and find some book that would help me understand what the purpose of life was. I could never find anything. It all just seems to be words. But when you read Prabhupada's words, they come to life, because they're real, substantial, and they're directly coming from Krishna. Thank you.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.